climb every mountain. It's Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Stephen Skeet.
And I'm Michelle Martin.
And I'm Michael Hill. Marketplace Morning Report is next, and later on Morning Edition, immediately after the September 11th attacks 22 years ago, droves of young people signed up for military service, eager for revenge and prevent any further harm to the nation. But now, 22 years later, Marines say they're having to switch up tactics to draw in more fresh recruits. We'll have more on that next hour.
WNYC supporters include Plaza Jewish Community Chapel's podcast, Exit Strategy. Executive VP Stephanie Gary and guests discuss normalizing and demystifying end-of-life issues. More at plazajewishcommunitychapel.org/exit-strategy.
This is the week where union workers could walk out of 3 big car and truck companies.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by C3 AI. C3 Generative AI provides ChatGPT enterprise search that is verifiable, secure, and accurate across all enterprise data. C3.ai. This is enterprise AI. And by Amazon Business, helping provide a smarter, easier way to get the supplies businesses need to thrive. Amazon Business, your partner for smart business buying.
I'm David Brancaccio. Detroit's big 3 automakers and the union representing their workers are now less than 4 days away from a strike deadline Thursday afternoon. Contract negotiations continue. The United Auto Workers say the union is ready to strike at all 3 companies, which would be a first. Marketplace's Nova Safo is following this.
Yeah, David, the good news is the pace of negotiations have picked up over the last week and a half. The 2 sides, though, remain far apart, and the UAW has rejected the latest offers from all 3 automakers, GM, Ford, and Stellantis. The companies did move a bit closer to the union's demands, though. For example, wage increase offers went up from 9% to nearly 15% over 4 years. The union, though, seeking wage increases of as much as 46%, the end of 2-tiered pay structures, the unionizing of jobs at new battery plants, and a number of other changes. So the 2 sides, not even close to a deal yet. In previous years, negotiations have gone to the last minute and even continued after the contract deadline. The union says this time around, it's prepared to strike if there's no deal by Thursday night.
Now, strikes have costs. They go beyond direct effects on the companies and union workers.
That's right, and there are potentially costs to the greater economy, too. Hard to say what that would be. We know that in 2019, GM workers went on strike for 6 weeks, and back then, the cost to GM alone was about $3.5 billion. There are also other companies involved, suppliers to the automakers that could be hurt. Usually the union picks one of the big 3 to strike against. This time around, it's promising, as you mentioned, to strike against all 3. That's never happened before. And the costs could potentially total $5 billion or more, according to one estimate. Certainly significant, David.
All right, Marketplace's Nova Safo, thank you. Stock in Ford, Stellantis, and GM are up in pre-market trading this morning. 2.5 hours before the opening bell, S&P futures are up 0.4%. NASDAQ futures are up 0.5%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Odoo, provider of an all-in-one management platform with a suite of fully integrated applications designed to simplify and connect every aspect of business in one software. More at odoo.com. And by Charles Schwab. Schwab believes every investor deserves to work with a firm they can count on, with financial consultants ready to serve clients and 24/7 live help.
Google has a date in federal court tomorrow. The U.S. Justice Department and dozens of states are suing, alleging Google abused its position in online search. Marketplace's Lily Jamali is here. Hello.
Hey, David.
All right, antitrust, concern about abuse of market power, U.S. versus Google. Tell me more about what the Justice Department and all these states suing will claim the company did.
Well, I'll start with a statistic cited by the government when this case was first filed in 2020, and that is that almost 90% of all internet queries in the U.S. happen on Google. I think we can both agree, almost 90%, that is dominance. And the government say Google attained that dominance illegally by paying other companies from phone makers like Apple and Samsung to web browsing companies like Mozilla. So under these deals, as the Justice Department describes it, in exchange, those companies made Google's search engine the default choice on the devices and the platforms that so many of us use.
All right, the suers are saying that, but what's Google, parent company Alphabet, what's their view?
Yeah, Google argues that it won the battle for dominance in search fair and square. In a recent statement, its president of global affairs, Kent Walker, said it this way. He said, people don't use Google because they have to, they use it because they want to. The underpinning of that argument is that we, the user, have plenty of ways to access information, more ways than we've ever had. All it takes, they say, is switching your search engine default to something else.
Okay, and early sense of which way this might go?
Well, hard to know, but one legal scholar I spoke to is so far less than convinced by the arguments Google has been making here. This is Rebecca Allensworth at Vanderbilt Law School.
If indeed Google was confident about their ability not just to be the best search engine, but to be the best search engine when also facing real competition from other possible search engines, then they wouldn't be having to pay billions of dollars to companies like Apple to remain the default.
You know, as I've been reporting this, I haven't seen much dispute about the fact that Google dominates search. To Allensworth's point, it's the payments to other companies that are really at the heart of this case that the governments are making here and is the thing that could really complicate things for Google.
I'm seeing another tech biggie, Apple, is getting pulled into this dispute as well.
That's right. This has been very interesting. Apple is not a defendant, but the government has said that it has been chief among Google's partners in these deals. 3 senior executives at Apple have been called on by the Justice Department to testify. One of them is Services SVP Eddie Q. He is a very familiar name in Silicon Valley who you'll often see on stage at Apple events. Apple tried to stop the government's push to have Q and others testify, but we learned last week, ultimately they weren't successful.
So they'll testify. Now, the landmark antitrust case, U.S. versus Microsoft, remember this one clearly, 1998 is one of our reference points for what happens when tech companies face antitrust allegations of this scale. Do you see any lessons of that case for this Google one?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be hearing that case invoked a whole lot as this one plays out over the next 10 or so weeks. And the key word is default. Back then, Microsoft was accused of making its internet browser the default for Windows users. Now, they say Google's doing the same thing, only with search.
Marketplace's Lily Jamali, thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
And nothing like Twinkies and jam, I always say. J.M. Smuckers could announce a deal as early as today to buy Hostess, the maker of Twinkies and lots of other sweet things wrapped in cellophane that are normally not included in breakfasts of champions. Reuters has a source suggesting the deal could be worth $5 billion. Hostess has gone through 2 bankruptcies. Hostess stock, ticker symbol TWNK, is up 17% in pre-market trading now. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio. It's the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.